Keep coming. There we go. Perfect. Back her up. I steal the mop out the house, make sure no one's looking. There we go. We've got ourselves a wheel balancer. Say no to spin. Learning to change your own tyres, or changing your tyres between like off-road, 50-50 tyres, street tyres, like matching your tyres to suit the conditions is really, really beneficial to adventure riding. Getting someone to do it, having to take it to the dealership every time is a real pain in the ass. Tyre changing machines are very expensive, you know, thousands of dollars for the big fancy automated ones, hundreds of dollars for the fancy hand ones like, you know, the Rabicondas, that sort of thing. If you're a cheapskate like me, you can totally do it for free. Well, nearly next to free. So I'm going to try and show you guys the technique for doing the cheapest tyre changes possible with an adventure bike. Full cheapskate spec. So we've got the wheel off the bike already. You can get like tyre changing stands that will make this a lot easier, but we're not out for spending money here. We want to spend the least amount of possible. So instead of a tyre changing stand, I'm just going to use the other tyre that I'm going to put on, and that's going to be my stand. So there we go. Free tyre changing stand. We're off to a good start, spending no dollars. The other gear you're going to need some decent tyre levers. There's no getting around that. These ones, the Bizzetti ones, they're actually really good price. I stole these off my dad about 20 years ago, so we're off to a good start, even better start there, free. You're going to want a bit of soapy water, not too big an expense there, and 2 cheap, nasty ratchet strap tie downs. So the first thing we need to do is take all the air out of the tyre, remove the valve core. You can spend $5 at an auto store place and get a valve core removal tool. Don't want to do that, $5 is $5. You can just use a valve cap that's got the end of it. The next step is breaking the bead, so breaking the tyre away from the rim. On adventure tyres, tubeless rims, that can be really hard to do, but there's some good tricks. You don't need to buy a bead breaker for this. If you happen to have a spare bike lying around, or you've got a friend, the side stand makes a great tool for doing this, so we'll show you that. So this is definitely much easier done with a friend, but you want to slide the tyre underneath the side stand, aiming to get the foot right up close to the rim, then reef it over until it pops that bead. Once it's down, walk it all around. There you go. You're saving money already. Flip it over. Same thing on the other side. Alright, so if you don't happen to have a spare brand new KTM 1290 lying around, if you've got a vise, you got yourself a bead breaker. Jam that in there. Crank her up. Come on, baby. There we go. Now, the third way, if you don't have a vise, you're getting really desperate, or you just like going full redneck, you need your motorbike loading ramp or a big strong piece of wood, your car, set it up so it's right, pressure point's right next close to the rim, as close as you can get it in the right place there. Here we go. Slowly drive up the ramp. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Keep coming, keep coming. There we go, perfect, back her up. Nice. So through one of those various increasingly sketchy options, we've now got the tyre broken off the bead, and you need to go around with your soapy water, make sure it's lubed up all the way around on both sides. So push it down, squirt it in both sides. Don't be shy, this is going to make life a hell of a lot easier. So with these tyre levers, there's 2 ends. There's the taking off end, and there's the putting the tyre on end. So obviously you want to use the taking the off end. So I start at the valve, and I jam one in, either side of that valve, making sure it's hooked all the way in, and then another one about, what would that be, 2 inches away from that. Really important. You can see already this bead, this other opposite side, is starting to climb up onto the tyre, up onto the rim, out of the well of the rim. We don't want that. It's got to be pushed down the whole time. So I'm going to use my knees and against the side of it like that to hold it down. Cool. So then I'm going to bring 1, 2, and 3 all the way over. Now, that was pretty easy to do, and it was easy to do because it was all lubricated and because that tyre was all the way down inside the rim, as far down as it can go, right down into that well. If at any point you feel like you're having to really reef on it, really pull on those levers, you're doing something wrong. And 99% of the time, it's that it's come up on that bead. So really put all your attention, all your effort into making sure that that is all the way down, all the way around. So from there, I'll pick whichever lever wants to fall out. You know what you do with a lot of scratching in your rims is you try and pull the levers out. So whichever one wants to fall out. And then nice small bites. Not too greedy. Leverage it around. Once we're about halfway around, we shouldn't need the levers anymore. It's going to want to start coming off. We just help it along its way a bit. Yeah, there we go. First bead's off already. So from there, we're going to lift it up. Get rid of that for now. And hopefully, with a bit of luck, we can just pull the rest of it off. If it doesn't want to do that, if it doesn't want to come off, this one's going to. But let's pretend it's not. So we're going to pretend that wasn't going to work. That was going to go, but we're going to pretend it's not. We can do this. 2 levers. 1 lifts the tyre up to create the gap. And then you push the other one all the way through. Oop. Come on. Till it comes out the other side. Throw that one on the ground. And then we're going to leverage that around like that to there. Push down with your knee. Booyah. Cool, so we're halfway there and we've not spent $1, most importantly. Okay, putting on the tyre. So first thing, soapy water again, make sure it's all nice and slippery. If it's dry, it's so much harder to do. So don't try and do it dry unless you absolutely have to for some insane reason. Next thing, check for the rotation. I can't tell you how many times I've put a tyre on backwards. It's very disappointing. So rotation is that way. That way, so I need my disc. That way, yep. All right, valve in first, like that. Lock it down into there, and again, we're aiming to try and keep it down that center of the rim. And then using my hand and my other hand, pulling my hands together. Bit of knee action as well. Mongrel that first one in there. Most adventure tyres, that'll go on pretty easily as long as it's all, again, all lubed up nice and good. Set it down on your old tyre. So now we want to use the putting on end of our lever, and we're just going through until the rim goes click into there, not all the way through. That don't work so good. So just into there, leverage it round. I'm going to use my knee to hold that down. Grab the next one, and the first one could be a fair distance away. Into there like that, and then trying to use your knees as a third pair of hands sort of thing. Start leveraging that round. Okay, that's starting to get a little bit tighter now because it's come up off that bead again. So make sure that back part's all the way down. Feel that starting to get tighter, harder pull on the lever. That's because this part of the tyre here was not 100% down in that well. So just keep checking to make sure that's all the way down in that center part of the rim. That's the big message here. Cool, we're just about there now. Cool. There we go, it's back on the rim. Happy times. All right, next step is trying to blast it out onto the rim. So there's a good trick for that. Out onto the bead, seat it on the bead basically. Good trick for that is to use these ratchet tie down straps. So I'm going to wrap this all the way around the outside of the tyre and then crank it up. Then I'm going to put one around the other side as well. Do the same thing, doing it with 2 of them. So that's important because we're pulling it from 2 positions. So that tension in these straps is going to hold the tyre against the rim, kind of half-ass sealing it so that you can put the pressure in it, blow it back out to the rim without having to buy a compressor. Because those things are expensive. Even though I've got one, don't just ignore that one. I'm going to pretend it's not here. If I'm lucky, I should even be able to do it just with a bicycle pump. Still without the valve stem in it, so the air can go nice and quickly. And then with that tension on there, hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to pump like a madman. Come on! Faster! Oh, hey! There's one. Ah! Victory! Cheapskates for the win. Ah! So, didn't even need to buy a compressor, but I did have to work for it. Ah! Grab my valve tool, also known as a valve cap. Wedge that in before all the air comes out. Happy times. Now we're going to let the straps go. Oh, still got my heart rate up for that pumping. Come on, lungs. And then at a more leisurely rate, I can pump that up to the right pressure. So great, you got the tyre on the rim and everything, but it's out of balance. You're going to want to balance it. So we don't want to spend money on that either. So we'll make ourselves a cheap wheel balancer. Just steal the mop out the house, make sure no one's looking. You're pretty good to go. Sweet. Chop the end off that. We're gonna. Is that gonna work? Yeah, it's gonna work. All right. There we go, we've got ourselves a wheel balancer. The heaviest part of the tyre will go to the bottom. So we'll just put the screw on wheel weights at the top. So it's definitely not going to be perfect, but it'll be perfectly good enough for off-road adventure riding. When you factor in stealing the tyre levers off Dad 20 years ago, the bicycle pump, Monica's mop, I reckon we spent virtually nothing. So time to go and strap this onto the $20,000 bike and go ride. So remember, say no to spend. Unless, of course, you're getting the video training series we've got, Say No to Slow.nz. That'll be the best $50 you ever spend in your life. Do that.